Hi, everybody. I heard a subject discussed with somebody. I'm not going to say who. You can probably figure it out as I go. But somebody called, sent me a message and said, "Oh, so and so was mentioned you again." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go up there, and the comments that I heard are got me on this thing, and I heard other people talk about it too, so I thought, well, I'm gonna make a video about it. And what it is the XJW community. You know, this person being a Jehovah's Witness, a so-called self-proclaimed Jehovah's Witness, was talking about how XJWs in this so-called community that we have here are how'd they put it? I forget what he said exactly, but that we were just losers listening to losers, and that misery likes company and things like that. And it's like, well, my view of the XJW community is a lot different than other people's, and I want to explain why. When I left the organization in 1982, I left, but in 83 was when I left and didn't go back. But when I left, there was no internet. There was no XJW community. There was nothing. And what I realized was that the things that I had been told in the organization about the world were false. So this person I was talking about that made this video, made these comments about me and other people, said that want to know how our life is, Well, now that you left the organization, how is your life now? Are you miserable? Sure, you're miserable. And the watchtower idea that people in the world are drunkards and drug abusers and immoral and all that other stuff, that isn't true. I mean, there can be drunkards and immoral people and drug abusers right inside the organization. You don't have to go to the world to see that. No matter who they are, they have issues. It doesn't matter what church they go to or don't, or what organization they belong to, or if they don't, or anything like that. Humans are humans. And there can be drunkards and drug abusers and immoral people in every group, straight across the board, no matter who they are. But when you're in the organization and they fill your head with, well, we're the best people in the world, and like Tony Morris said on the broadcast, we're the only group of people that are going to be protected. That is so left field and so wrong and against what the Bible teaches. If you'd read Romans 14 very carefully, you'd understand. But when you're in the organization and you're fed these things and all the pictures that you see, the pictures that you see are of these terribly evil, devil-worshipping people, and then when you get out into the real world and you discover that there's a lot of really good, God-fearing, Christ-loving people everywhere. It makes no difference if you belong to an organization or not, whether you run across true followers of Christ and lovers of God and people that live their life in that way. You know, it's all about who you pick for your friends and who you choose to hang around, you know, and suck up what they live, you know, suck up what they do and start living like they do and all that. You know, it depends on who your friends are and who you choose to be around. But there's a lot of really good people everywhere. You don't have to belong to the organization to be good people. Now, when that person made that comment about, well, I know they must be a drunkard because they talked about beer. So, are you kidding me? Jesus made wine at a wedding out of water. Does that mean Jesus was an alcoholic? I mean, that's how left field that comment was. That was really stupid. And the comment about me, which, you know, he always tries to say it, is that I'm one of the dirty people. You know, he saw boxes in my living room in one of my videos. And those boxes were being moved from my shed to my attic. And they were sitting in the side of my living room so that when my son came over, he could put them in the attic. And out of that, he gets that I'm a dirty person. Are you kidding? I mean, I don't know where that comes from. But the thing that gets me over and over again is this person attacks things about our personal life. He doesn't attack the things that we talk about or the things that we say. He attacks us personally because he tries to make himself look better and make us look worse and all of that, you know, for his own benefit, for his own videos. But after I saw someone else put up a video about the XJW community, I decided, well, I'm going to make a video about it because it was different for me than a lot of people. There are others out here that I've talked to that left, you know, years and years ago like I did. And there was no XJW community. There was nothing. We had to go on with our lives and live the best we could. Even though our minds were poisoned by the organization, we had to just keep on going. I don't know, what are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? You having a dream? Yeah, you having a dream? Well, quit acting up. Be nice. Don't have bad dreams. So, we had to go on with our lives and live our lives. You know, we got married, had children, investigated and looked at other churches, things like that. I mean, just normal things that people do. And any research that we did, we had to go to the public library, look through the card, you know, the card files of different books. If the library didn't have it, we had to send for it from another library, and things took a long time to get the things that we needed to research what we wanted to research. And it took a lot of time, a lot of effort. Meanwhile, we're living our life, you know, and doing this research on the side. And it took a long time, but the longer I was out, the more I realized, you know, because at first, I mean, the biggest thing at first was my daughter was going to have her first birthday after I was out a while. And I, having grown up as a Jehovah's Witness, I didn't know anything about how to have birthdays. About the only thing I knew was it involved a cake, you know. So I made this little cake for my daughter. Just a little, it was like a little cake that you could cut into 4 pieces. Betty Crocker had this thing at the time. It was like a stir and frost thing, they called it. And it had this little cardboard box thing. It was had some kind of tinfoil lining or something in it. And you could mix the cake up right inside the little box. and put it in the oven and cook it, kind of like a little easy bake oven thing, right? But yeah, you put it in the oven and cook it, and then you could frost it and you could cut it and you could serve it and everything out of this little cardboard box. And it was so cool. But that's what I made her for her birthday, was this little, because I didn't have any friends to have over for her birthday. But I thought, well, I'm going to give my daughter a birthday. You know, I never had a birthday, so I'm going to have my daughter a birthday. So I made this little one piece, four serving little stir and frost cake, chocolate frosting. And then I put it on her high chair tray and just let her have at it, you know. And I mean, she had chocolate all over the place, you know, but she had a lot of fun. And for her first birthday, I bought her a little yellow teddy bear. It was really cute. She had that thing for a long time. It was a cute little teddy bear. And I think about those days, you know, it was real lonely days, but you know, I had to look for my own kind of friends and the people I wanted to hang out with, and I was always relatively a good person, you know, so I'm looking for other good people to hang around, you know. And I did. I found a lot of really good people that really lived their lives in a Christian manner, and that I'm still friends with today. There are some really good people. And I made a lot of mistakes, you know, discovering the real world versus the world I grew up in. It was a fantasy, you know. I did things so differently, and I didn't know a lot of things. I had to ask people things, you know, like, what do you normally make for Thanksgiving? You know, what kind of a meal is a Thanksgiving meal? Because growing up, I never had a Thanksgiving meal. I didn't know what it all was, and there's no internet to type it in to find out. So I had to ask people, and they're like, well, how come you don't know these things? And I just tell them, I was born under a rock. You know, when I got a little older, I'd tell them, well, I was raised in a cult and isolated from society, and I don't really know how those things work. And it wasn't until 20 some years after I was out that I explained to people that I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness and didn't know those things, and I was raised not doing any of those things, so I just didn't know how to do them. And there was a lot of things in my life that I didn't know how to do. When you grow up in an atmosphere of your parents telling you that 1975 the world is going to end, so there's no point in going, you know, there's no hope, you know. What I was told was that the world wouldn't last long enough for me to finish high school. So there was no point in thinking about college or anything after that, because the world as we know it wouldn't exist, and we don't know what it's going to be. And then when 1975 came and went, it was like, well, it can happen any day. We're just a little off. It was men make mistakes, you know, but it's got to be any day now because we're so sure it's so close and all that. And so it was like, well, we didn't think about going to college or anything. I wasn't taught about things that happened in the real world, because the real world wasn't supposed to not be there by the time I was that age. So those were useless things to teach your children. So I didn't know if I was out in the real world, where do I go for help? How do I get assistance? Who do I need to talk to about these things? I wasn't taught those things because supposedly they weren't going to be around when I was, you know, older, so there'd be no point. And so when I did leave and I needed help and stuff, people had to tell me, well, you need to go down here, you need to go talk to these people, you need to, you know, and a lot of people helped me through those things, and I just didn't know them. But I went to work, and I worked. I worked and worked and worked. I mean, I had to have a roof over my kids and food for my kids and stuff like that. So all I did was work. And working, you don't get a real feel for the world that goes on about around you, because my whole life focused on my job, paying the bills, and raising my kids. And so the rest of everything that was going on you know, didn't really matter that much to me, you know. Um, my choice in men was all right, but you know, it's like hindsight's 20/20, you know, and you don't know when you marry a person what they're going to choose to do later. So later, when they did terrible things and I had to divorce them, you know, and finally it got to be where I'm just not going to get married anymore, because you know, I don't want to drag my kids through any more turmoil, you know. Just let them grow up in one place and in one school, and settle down, you know, do stuff like that. And you know, I just tried to raise my kids the best I could with the skills that I had. My skills did not involve the real world. You know, my skills were based on I was taught how a girl was supposed to be a good wife and a good mother. And as far as doing anything else, I wasn't taught anything. I didn't have any skills to fall back on. You know, all I knew, that's all I knew. And so when things came up, I just tried to do the best I could with the skills that I had, which, you know, all I can say is the mistakes that I made in my life, I tried to make the best choice that I could, that that I thought would be the best thing for me and my children. And if it fell apart, then I tried to learn from what I did and try not to make those mistakes again. But as far as existing in the real world, I had grown up in a fantasy world, you know, in a society that um, tried to stay. You know, I couldn't have friends that weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. No holidays, no parties, no birthdays, no Christmas, no Easter, no nothing. We weren't supposed to do anything competitive in school. We weren't supposed to have friends or do any of the extracurricular things for school. I was pretty lucky where I got to do music and school band and stuff. And even with that, I didn't do really well because my parents wouldn't allow me to go play at the concerts that the school would have. And of course, they'd have Christmas concerts and holiday concerts and stuff. And then I couldn't go to the concerts, so my grades suffered because I wasn't doing what everyone else was doing, you know. And that was part of your grade, was making appearances at those concerts, and my parents wouldn't allow me to do that. So it my my grades in school could have even have been better if I hadn't been forced to have to be excluded from those things. And growing up being excluded all the time, where you're the kid that has to sit out in the hall because they're having a birthday party or a Valentine's party or a Christmas party, and I had to go sit in the library or go sit out in the hall or something, like I was being punished, you know, and people coming by and looking at me funny, and, you know, always being the butt of jokes and getting kicked and beat and spit on and called names and you name it. And I didn't want to raise my kids like that. When I was growing up, I made my mind up. I wasn't gonna have kids and raise them to be in that miserable of a place and circumstances. So as I was working and I was learning what the world was like, I was also researching religions and beliefs and why some religions believe this and Jehovah's Witnesses don't, and all that. And some of the churches I went to see how they did things and what they were like, and I couldn't find a religion that I felt was being truthful, so no matter what church or religion it was, it seemed like they were only telling you what they wanted to tell you, and they weren't telling you the big picture. And if you were an avid Bible reader like I was, and I researched the Bible and studied the Bible a lot, and if you did that, then you could see that when you walked into a church and you were listening to them, you could tell that they were only, like what the Bible says, they're tickling their ears, And so I didn't really fit into a religion anywhere. I didn't join really an organization, so to speak. No organized religions. And I chose just to follow Christ and His commands. And so I studied the Bible and studied, and I wanted to know what the good news was that was actually supposed to be preached, because at the time you could ask a Jehovah's Witness, what is the good news? And they will say, well, this good news of the kingdom must be preached in all the world. And you're like, well, that's not what the good news is. That's just what you're supposed to do with it. So what is the good news? And they couldn't tell you, and I didn't know. So I had to research for myself in the Bible. I knew it was there somewhere, right? So I had to look for it, and when I found it, I was amazed. I was like, wow, why weren't we ever told what the real good news was? Because the real good news doesn't have anything to do with preaching about God's kingdom. It had to do with Jesus and what He did for us, and what that means for us, and that we're supposed to go and tell people about those things also, and share those things with people. And so I just chose to follow Christ, and that's what I've done in my life. I didn't join a religion or an organization or anything like that. And I also know that person that wants to talk about us XJWs so much, that the things that he says about Vinny, you're not an alcoholic, and you're not an evil alcoholic just because you mentioned beer one time. Are you kidding? And the other guy, he doesn't have a girl's name. He explains in his videos why he uses that, and it has nothing to do with that. It's a religious thing. And this guy hasn't even watched the videos of these other people to actually know what they're doing or who they are or anything. But you see, what I know is that the XJW community is a really good thing. I mean, there are things that happen out here once in a while between people that have arguments and get mad at each other and stuff like that, but that happens in any family. Any some of them make up, some don't. Some of them just move on and so forth, and that happens a lot too, because when you come out of the organization now these days, you don't just go on with your life like we did when years ago. What they do is they come out to Reddit and YouTube and Facebook and stuff, and they get into the XJW community in order to heal and to learn what they need to do to get over the damage that's been done to them inside the JW org, and that's a really good thing, because it takes a lot of getting over those things and past those things. I went to counseling twice in my life over things that I was hung up on because of skills that I was lacking when I was younger, affected me so much when I was older, and I didn't know how to get past that or what I should do. So I went to therapy, and the therapist would walk me through ways to get past that and to learn those things. And I realized how stunted I was I was stunted emotionally, psychologically, mentally, spiritually, so stunted compared to other people. You know, there was so much about Jesus I had to learn, and the relationship I had with Jesus and God, I had to learn. I mean, from square one, you know. And I asked God to teach me those things, because I knew that if I had been lied to in one area, that I knew I must have been lied to in other areas, and I just needed Him to instruct me. So I prayed and I waited, and He did. He faithfully, very lovingly walked me through those things so I could learn them over time. And the healing does take a long time to get past and get over those things. But this person that's claiming to be a current witness and saying and doing those things is not sympathetic toward anybody, because they just haven't been there and haven't gone through those things. But like I say, now they come to the JW organization community, for the XJW community, to get tips on how to get past those things and what to do and how to go about doing it and everything. And that's very beneficial, because boy, if I would have had people to go to ask those things, and that they could help and guide me through it, it would have been a whole lot easier than, you know, the trial and error I went through. You know, it would have been a whole lot easier. But after a while, what I've noticed is the people that come out of Watchtower and then come to the community, they get to a point where they want to just go on with their lives and raise their kids and be with their spouses and live their own life without the weight of Watchtower sitting on their shoulders all the time, day in, day out. And I think that's a real important thing that people need to do, and that they should do, is to live their life as God wanted us to live it and Christ told us to live it, and enjoy our life and be happy and prosperous like God wanted us to be, and to go on with your life without that cult and that Pharisee kind of, you know, hanging over your head with all these 1001 rules you need to follow and all that stuff. God wants us to be His children and enjoy the place that He put us. You know, we need to enjoy the world and help make it better, and make our kids successful in their lives and things like that. And you can't do that with Watchtower always hanging over your shoulders. You have to move on and get away from that. And so a lot of people that come out onto YouTube and other places, after a while, they just, you know, they say their goodbyes, and they say, well, I'll still be out here, I'll watch you once in a while, but I'm going to move on with my life. And it's like, good for you. You know, everybody needs to do that. And years ago, that's what we did. We didn't have anywhere to go else but just to go on with our lives first. And then, you know, I came back to this after 30 some years, and my kids were already grown and moved, and I'm on my own these days, you know, and I got nothing better to do. You know, I'm disabled and can't work, and so what I decided to do was to help the people that are just now coming out. And I had to do a little catch up too, because you know how the org changes. You know, the new light flashes like a disco ball and flicks and flutters and changes directions, and you have to figure out where the new light went. So, you know, there were a few things I had to learn that were totally different from when I was in the organization. And I mean, my God, this little rowdy thing, he's like a shark / piranha. He's like on everything. Oh my God. But so go play, puppy. Go play. And you know, people have to go on with their lives and live it without that watchtower hanging over them, and follow Jesus and see where he leads you. Now, he led me back to here to encourage people and support them in their process of getting out of the organization, because, you know, I've been through a lot, and I've made a lot of mistakes I could learn from, and, you know, I understand how lonely and painful it is to lose everything and your whole family, and not have anybody, you know. I know those feelings, and I understand how it feels, and I just want them to know it gets better, you know. Um, and if I could help them in any way, I do, you know. That's what I try to do. I have a lot of compassion for people coming out, because it's a brave thing. It's a really brave thing to just up and, you know, leave your family and friends that you've had all your life, and go in a different direction. It's a lot of courage to do that, and it's brave, you know, and it is lonely and sad and confusing time, you know, and uh, so that's why I'm out here, you know. But that person that talks about us in our XJW community, he knows nothing about who we really are, or what kind of people we are, or what kind of hearts we have, or what we do in our real life, or anything, and he doesn't care to find out. He's making assumptions, and spreading rumors and telling lies, and at the same time saying, "Oh, well, we're here to welcome you back if you want to return to Jehovah." And we're like, you know, who wants to return to Jehovah when you've just sit and berate and belittle everybody, thinking you're better than everybody else and all that? Who wants to return to that? You know, he doesn't realize how silly and stupid he looks, you know. But anyway, I gotta go tire this little thing out. My God, he's just everywhere right now. So I'll talk to y'all later, and you guys have a good day, and enjoy your life, man. You know, this world is a really pretty place, and there's lots of good people. So, you know, get out there, get to know them, and have some fun, and don't be so serious all the time. You know, have some fun. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.